Hello, this is Michael Daniels. How is everyone tonight? Glad everyone can make it out. I know a lot of people registered, and it's great to see some people. And I know we had some trouble last week with the photos one, but any of you that haven't been or haven't seen this, basically what I'm trying to do is we recently went to a top contributors meetup where we got to meet some people, and I asked a bunch of them if they would help out with doing Hangouts about their expertise in their particular product. And a lot of them have agreed, and it's been fantastic so far. If you look inside the chat, you'll see over there where I put in the collection where I'm going to start doing a Google Plus collection that has all of these. I will just have them in there. You can go randomly on the subject that you want to see, and hopefully these guys can help you out. And tonight we have Ziggy. Ziggy, I will turn it over to you. Thank you very much for coming in because you're talking about a subject that I know nothing about. So fire away.
Sure. So, my name's Ziggy. I'm a top contributor for a lot of products. Tonight I'll be talking about specifically Project Fi. So Project Fi is a relatively new product that I think a lot of people maybe are aware of, maybe not. We'll find out, right? And tonight, hopefully, if you don't know what Project Fi is, you'll know a little bit better by the end of our talk tonight. So I'm the top contributor for Project Fi. So that means that I work with the Project Fi team along with a bunch of other Project Fi top contributors to answer questions for users across a lot of different platforms. Specifically for me, I work mostly on Help on Social and Reddit, where I'm actually one of the moderators for Reddit for r/Project Fi. So I do a lot of work out there. I reach out to users who are having issues and try to hopefully get them on the right path to having much better service, whether there's some sort of port issue or kind of things that actually normally happen with the carrier anyway. We're just lucky enough to have Google backing us and kind of running the support level of things. So hopefully they have a good user experience.
That's really awesome. Hey, listen, before we get going on this live and everything, just tell everybody a little bit. You do other things you top contributor in also. Just kind of tell a couple things that you do with that as well, if you don't mind. I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything, but I just know that you're very, very helpful to me in other areas. So I wanted to make sure that everybody kind of knows you and learns a little bit about you as well.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a top contributor for my first product was Docs, and then I'm also my second product was Hangouts. I also do stuff with Google for EDU. I also work on Nexus, Pixel, and most recently I will be helping with Android Auto and Allo as well. So I'm kind of all over the place. My main areas are concentrated basically, as you can tell, in communication apps. It's something I use on a daily basis. I use a lot of different communication apps. So this kind of fits well into kind of my area of expertise, specifically Fi.
That's awesome. And I see John out there. He put a text up there. He says, can anybody see my text? Yes, John, we can see your text. No problem. I'm just making sure that this works as well. So that's why I did that, kind of selfishly did that. Ziggy, let's get rocking and rolling because I want to kind of keep this as limited as we can. I don't need to go all night on this because, I mean, you could answer a lot of questions and stuff. I want to be able to get some questions in. And listen, after we're done, you can reach out to Ziggy. I'll put information inside there so you can reach out to him in any way if you have questions about this particular thing. I'm sure you don't mind. I'm sure.
Absolutely not. I've actually put my contact information on the last slide. So if people want to reach out, there will be really easy ways to do that.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to if you'll want to screen share your slide, and I will put it on you, and you rock and roll and take it away.
All right, give me 1 second here. All right, so all about Project Fi. That's why we're here today, obviously. So I'm excited to kind of share some things about giving you an intro into what is Project Fi and how you can do that. So Project Fi. Project Fi is a virtual carrier, also called, more technically speaking, MVNO or Mobile Virtual Network Operator. We work with 3 carriers, traditional carriers, that is T-Mobile, Sprint, and US Cellular, and we also rely on Wi-Fi to provide you hopefully with a seamless connectivity experience both inside and outside the US. That's one of our major features, is that we both provide great service within the United States and internationally. And the biggest thing that a lot of users really love is the fact that the cost is predictable and there's no secret hidden fees or gotchas. You know what you're paying, and it's very easy to kind of predict how much you're going to be spending in a month. So, all right. So who should use Project Fi? I get this question a lot from users on the various platforms, and I think it's a really fair question. And so I'd like to address that. I think if you're a data hogger, probably not the best network. However, the people who use Project Fi the most are people who travel a lot. We were just reading the other day on Reddit that there's a whole bunch of users who are actually pilots and who do international flights, flight attendants. Somebody was saying that half of their aircraft the other day was all Project Fi, mainly because of our international coverage and speeds that we offer compared to most US carriers. A lot of people who are on their first smartphone. So like, you just turned 18, you're going to college, late high school. A lot of those kind of people are signing up for Fi. People who are low data usage love Project Fi because we're unlimited calls and texts. I'll get into specifically the pricing, but it's really affordable for those people. And
real quick,
of the multiple.
Just real quick, I want to ask them. You were talking about the international. Now, international, is it still with those same carriers, those same 3 carriers, I believe you mentioned?
Yes. So specifically, we use T-Mobile internationally for roaming agreements, as well as we also use 3, which is a European carrier. So.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure, absolutely. So like I mentioned, lots of calls and texts per month. And if you're already a Google lover who's on a Nexus or a Pixel device or a new Pixel device, which I'm holding in my hand right now, it's a great option to switch to. So how does billing work? It's really simple. It's $20 a month for unlimited talk and text, and then it's $10 a gig per gig of data that you prepay for. But you are refunded for any data that you don't use. So for example, if you only use 100 megs a month, like I sometimes do, that would be the equivalent of $1. So you would pay for your first month, you pay $30 plus taxes. And then you would get $9 back the next month. So you'd only pay $21 plus taxes the next month. So it's really affordable in that sense, that you're only paying for what you use. So if you don't use a lot, you will save a lot. If you have a month that you happen to use a lot, though, you'll be able to manage, kind of how much you're using and be able to see, you'll be able to say, oh, I used this much. This is how much my bill is going to be. And like I said, no fees. Project Fi doesn't charge fees to users. The only fee that you're going to have technically is your local taxes, which are required by federal mandate. So this is your 911 tax. Typically, depending upon your state, they're anywhere between $3 and $6. It just depends upon what there's some national taxes, and then typically states add their own taxes and fees on top of that.
Okay, so let me ask real quick. So I can go to my local US Cellular or my local T-Mobile or whatever?
No.
Okay.
So this is actually all online. I'll get to that part in a little bit.
No problem. Keep going.
All right. So and we were talking about international too. And the best thing about the international plans is that you're literally paying the same for data as you are in the US. It's still $10 a gig, it's still prorated, and it's actually unthrottled. Most carriers that you'll use, it will throttle you at about 256 kilobit or 128 kilobits per second. Before, when we originally started Project Fi, it was double that, 256 kilobits per second, which you're thinking, how much is that? That's like almost DSL speeds. So that you'd be able to load emails, you'd be able to send messages back and forth. But it's not really enough bandwidth for you to do like streaming or anything like that, or maps would load pretty slowly. So the team really heard that feedback and kind of analyzed how users use data and made the decision to completely take off that throttling cap and make it completely full speed, whatever speed you can get in the country that you're at. So if you're on an LTE connection, you'll get LTE speeds. And with the addition of 3, which was combined in this release, there's a lot better data speeds and coverage, specifically in Europe. So we're talking about England, France, Italy, like those kinds of countries have really great connections now, thanks to that additional international partner that we have. And cellular calls are really cheap. If you're on a cellular connection, it's only 20 cents a minute. Wi-Fi calls are even cheaper. They're actually using the Google Voice rates, if you're familiar with those. So that means that calls to the US are 100% free if you're using Wi-Fi. Otherwise, they're just a couple cents internationally. You can also use the Hangouts dialer as a little hack to be able to make data calls. So you can make data calls to the US for free. You're just paying for the data usage, which is pretty cheap. So that's a really great feature if you're traveling internationally for business. If you're if you're going on a vacation, this is a great plan for that, because you really save a lot of money, and you're getting great connectivity as well.
I think your next slide covers this, but family.
Yep, family plans. This is the biggest launch that's happened most recently, because a lot of people, they're bringing on their family members, and managing those accounts is kind of difficult if you just have everybody has their individual accounts. And we give you a little bit of a break as well. So there's the original line is still $20 for limited talk and text. The data is still the same, $10 a gig, still prorated. Each additional line is $15 a month. So instead of paying $40 plus taxes for the 2 lines minus the data, now you're paying $35 a month for 2 lines, and then just adding the data on top of that. There's also some more control, which I'll show you in a little bit, over the specific data usage of individual users. So you can shut off your kids' data if they're going on a YouTube binge and you want that stopped. You can actually shut that off remotely. You can kick people out of a plan. You can add people into a plan anytime. The managers and owners have complete control. And you still have the same Project Fi service for these additional lines. It's still, you have the access to the 3 carriers, you still have the Wi-Fi calling, you still have the Hangouts, you still have all the international features as well. You just get a $5 a line discount. And still the same requirements of using a 6P or a Nexus device or a Pixel device. So that's how family plans work. I have some pictures of how the app kind of looks and how you can manage family plans from there in a couple of slides. So I'll show that in a little bit more detail. But I wanted to give an overview of kind of how the plans work and how that kind of integrates. Which is a big reason why people choose Project Fi, for the kind of the way that the plans cost. And
perfect. Let's get into it.
All right.
Can't wait. Let's get into it.
So I want to go over a couple of the features, because for some of the a little bit more less data conscious users who are thinking, well, why should I use this over a traditional carrier? Here's a couple of reasons why. First of all, Project Fi offers free data only SIMs. So you can request up to 9 data only SIMs for your account. They're 100% free to ship out. They come out of your data bucket. So this means you can repurpose your old smartphone. You can give kids a Pokemon Go phone if you want them to go, if I know one person whose daughter uses his own old AT&T phone as a Pokemon Go phone and just has the data only SIM in there. And data is still the same price. It actually comes right out of your data bucket. You don't have to prepay any extra. It's just another way for you to use that on your tablet, your old smartphone. If your laptop has a SIM card slot, basically anything that can fit this data only SIM, you can use it in. Hangouts integration is another great reason for to use Project Fi. If you're an old Google Voice user, you're probably familiar with the cross-platform messaging and calls. All those features still apply here. That's an option. You can always call from any device that has Hangouts on it, whether that be a desktop, a tablet, anything like that. You can always use Hangouts for that. An optional feature you can turn on is that you can actually text from any device. So this means that text will come into Hangouts And that means you'll be able to send messages as SMS from Hangouts on any of your devices. So again, if you're user like me who's constantly on desktop and maybe not always next to their phone, this is a great feature for that. So no matter what device you have with you can always get to your calls and texts, which is great. We also have call and SMS forwarding. So just like Google Voice, you can forward your calls to your landline if you'd like. We also have an email SMS gateway. Thanks to user feedback, the team implemented this. So you can actually text your number or send an email from your number. So you can just do 215-555-0123 at message.fi.google.com and send yourself, people can send you messages through that email address. So that's a great feature. We also have visual voicemail. Again, these are all free features that come with the service. There's no extra fees. This all comes as part of that base $20 a month that you're getting. So visual voicemail, which a lot of carriers actually make you pay for, and the Wi-Fi calling. And it's not just the fact that Wi-Fi calling exists, it's that you can start your call out on Wi-Fi, you can walk outside, and your call automatically switch from Wi-Fi to cellular. So if it notices that your Wi-Fi connection is degrading, if your internet drops out in the middle of your call, it's actually ready, waiting, and able to switch you to cell to take over that call. You just notice, sometimes you don't even notice anything, but if you're really paying attention, you might notice a little change in the call, and it'll be working again. So there's nothing missed. It's a lot of people really talk about this feature because of their old carriers. If you were on a Wi-Fi call and you swapped and you walked outside, your call would end. So this is a great feature to be able to swap back and forth like that.
And this goes from service to service as well, correct?
It doesn't switch calls from one service to another. So you can't go from AT&T, or sorry, not AT&T.
I know what you're saying.
T-Mobile to Sprint in mid-call. I can't do that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it will go from Wi-Fi to cell. So what are some features of Project Fi specifically for the Nexus and Pixel that you should remember that you can take advantage of? Specifically, it's the quick, timely updates from Google. Project Fi doesn't stand in the way of these carrier updates. You get the same updates that everybody else gets. So the security patches and the OS updates all come directly from Google, just like you would from any other carrier. And Wi-Fi Assistant is a great feature as well. This was originally actually a Project Fi specific feature, but now this is a feature open to all Nexus and Pixel devices. And what this feature does is it allows you to automatically connect to open Wi-Fi hotspots. So if somebody just has an open hotspot, you don't have to log in or accept terms of service. It'll automatically throw up a VPN, which is basically your secure private connection, so nobody else can see your traffic. And allows you to save some data without having to use up your mobile data bucket that you've prepaid for. So it's a great way to save data out on the go when you're sitting in a restaurant and maybe you didn't know there was a Wi-Fi connection to connect to. It'll do that. Also now, a new feature that came out just a month or two ago is that if you've already connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot before, and it applies for this program, you can actually secure that Wi-Fi hotspot, so you get an extra layer of security when you're browsing wherever this hotspot happens to be, whether it's out at a restaurant or a library or something like that. And finally, I think the biggest feature is that you're dealing directly with Google for support. A lot of people, when you get to big companies, I was just dealing with Comcast the other day. And there's definitely a difference between dealing with Google and dealing with some of these other companies with how their support works. Google support is definitely top notch. And if you're not solved on that call, they're constantly trying to work to try to fix whatever issue you're having, which is definitely reassuring from a user standpoint. So I wanted to go over the mobile application a little bit, how it looks, in case you're not familiar with it. Basically, the main thing when you load the Project Fi application on your device is you'll be able to see how much data you're using this month. This is actually a screenshot from yesterday. which is right before my plan ended. Clearly I love Project Fi because I only use, even with group plans, my friend and I who are on the plan together only used, almost 0.4 gigs, which meant that cost $4 in data, or $3.90, which is super cheap compared to other carriers. And you're able to see, this is how much I'm spending a month. Here's how many people. You can control your payment options. You can check your voicemail. You can set your voicemail as well. You can do call forwarding. You can block numbers, which is a relatively new feature too that people love, especially because this blocks it everywhere. So it doesn't matter whether it comes in via Hangouts or your Project Fi device. You can block numbers everywhere, and it'll act like your number is deactivated, which is a really awesome feature for those pesky telemarketers.
I hear you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm all for that one there.
Specifically for group plans, I wanted to call this out. You can change your data on the screen. You can change whether somebody has calls outside the US or not. You can pause service in general for a user. You can pause data. You can remove people from a plan. It's super easy. And finally, we also have call and text. Like I mentioned before, you can block calls. You can also add alerts, and you can also set privacy settings as well. Whether you want to send, for example, your connection data back to Google, that's a really great feature to help them see where coverage is working and where coverage isn't, so that they can kind of automatically adjust how users are connecting via Project Fi. And right through the app, I went too fast there for a second. Right through the app, you can get support. Which is a really great feature. You can request a callback. You can actually have chat support right from the app, and you can shoot up an email too as well to support with your question. And it already gives you the estimated wait time for everything, which is great. The help form is listed as well as the help articles. So if you're not sure where to begin, all that support is built right into the app, which is great. There's also a web interface.
Let me just interject real quick.
Sure.
If some of you are having trouble viewing this because in your video screen there down in the bottom right corner, you have a little gear wheel there. You can adjust how you're viewing this at 480 or 720 or whatever, or 10 whatever p, and just change that in the gear wheel so you can see it a little bit better. You might have to lower it or raise it for your connection. I'm just letting everybody know, because sometimes it might be blurry to certain people. I know we had that in other shows, so I want to make sure I said that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back at you, Ziggy.
We'll be sure to also share out the presentation as well afterwards. So if you can't see it, we'll definitely share it out then.
Perfect.
So also on the web application, we have, you're able to see much of the same view. I just briefly showed this so that, because you'll be able to see it when you get your own account. But it's really easy to see everything there. It's actually set up very similar to the way that the app is set up. If you look, these are actually all very similar menus to what's on the app. So that's really great too. It's a really easy interface to use. And you can see even at the bottom a little homage to Google Voice there. You can go back to the old Google Voice interface if there's some setting you need to tweak from the old Google Voice things, because actually Project Fi is built upon Google Voice. So a lot of that old functionality is still there baked in. So a lot of people ask, how does Project Fi work? How does it do its magic? I'll be honest, I'm not privy to all the magic, but I can share this bit. That Project Fi monitors the real-time data provided by users to make decisions on what network to choose. So if they know that, I noticed recently, for example, that T-Mobile had an outage like a month ago or something like that. And when I woke up in the morning, it was on Sprint because it knew that T-Mobile wasn't going to give me any connection. So it just swapped to Sprint so that I wouldn't miss a call if it came in overnight or something like that. Or if I had to make a call, I wouldn't be stuck. That I was always connected to a carrier. So they basically can swap around both based upon historical data and real-time data to kind of pick whatever carrier is best in an area. And it's always learning. The algorithms are constantly being tweaked, and the goal is to always learn from mistakes of old algorithms or mistakes in the app. So this is a great reason to send feedback within the app to let Google know when Project-Fi is working or when it's not working. If you have no bars and it doesn't swap you, this is a great reason to send feedback. I give the example here of being inside of a building. Some buildings get better service from different carriers. If Wi-Fi call doesn't fix it for you, if you don't have Wi-Fi in that building, then another carrier might be the thing to swap in and save the day for that. So this is some of the magic of Project-Fi and how that works. Basically, how it works is that when you sign up for Project-Fi online, basically you get a special SIM card sent to you, either with a phone, or if you already have a phone, then it'll just, you'll just get sent the SIM card and pop it in. And it basically has all the profiles for the different carriers that Project-Fi associates with. So that would be T-Mobile, Sprint, US Cellular, and our international partner 3, in addition to T-Mobile's international connections. And the best thing about this is the fact is that you're connecting at the same rate and speed as a postpaid customer on their networks. So this means that you'll get the same speed as somebody who's on T-Mobile or on Sprint or on US Cellular, which is great. So that's a great feature. The only thing that's not 100% true about that is US Cellular, because US Cellular, currently right now we're supporting US Cellular's 4G network, 4G LTE network, which is in specific areas of the country that the other carriers don't really cover that well. They kind of have a monopoly almost in those areas. And we won't move you to a network that is has a roaming agreement. And a lot of times, actually in that case, the roaming agreement will be for a carrier that we already have a connection with. So for example, Sprint or T-Mobile. So that's a main reason why that doesn't happen. But it works really well, and a lot of people have really loved, especially with the addition of US Cellular for people who live up in Maine. It's a great addition that was made for areas that really don't have any other carriers available. So,
quick question pertaining to this. That's why I'm going to bring it up. Let me see if I can get it to come up. Okay, so if you pick up additional carriers, we all need new SIM cards? Question mark
No.
From Chris Barnes.
No, as somebody mentioned, we don't need actually new SIM cards when a new carrier happens, specifically because we can share those profiles. At this point, they've been CDMA carriers, so if you know anything about CDMA, they actually don't actually they don't necessarily require SIM cards, so we can actually just download it in the background. It's a profile we can download in the background. GSM carriers technically require new SIM cards, but we haven't added a GSM carrier, so we haven't. I don't know whether we'd have to use it in that case, but if we added any more CDMA carriers, we wouldn't need to do that. And I believe 3 is also a GSM carrier. The profile was downloaded for that as well, so that's not something that we had to worry about. So no, as of yet, any new carriers that have been added have not required a new SIM card. So there's been no downtime for users in getting onto the new network, just basically rollout time.
Chris says thanks for answering that. So there you go.
Yeah, no problem. I think this was most of what I wanted to go through. So I wanted to, before we got to questions and answers, I wanted to point out some areas, great areas, to get more answers to questions, maybe some questions that aren't great for just starters or people who don't know what Project-Fi is. First of all, we obviously have an official Google product forum, which I've provided the link to here. There's also a really active Reddit.
I'm also adding that link right now too, at the same time you just said that. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think it's important, because that's where all of us top contributors come from on these forums. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yes. There's a Reddit community. There's also a public, unofficial Google Plus community as well, which everybody can get into. So I've linked that as well. I've also created 2 guides. There's an official FAQ. There's also the unofficial FAQ that I've created. And then there's also a getting started guide that I created. So if you're just starting your Project-Fi and want to know about the entire sign-up flow, what do I do to start from start to end of signing up for Project-Fi, coming from Google Voice, coming from another carrier, porting in, starting fresh, everything's covered in that getting started guide. So that's really easy to go from one to the other. So I think that covers all of those kind of things that I wanted to go over. So I'm more than welcome to open it up to questions, what people want to know. Have any questions about something that I covered in here? If they need more examples, feel free to add them in the chat area, and I'll be sure to go through them.
Okay, I'm going to go right now because I have just some that were asked before we even started. And you can go ahead and stop screen sharing if you want to, unless you want to leave your stuff up, or we can bring your stuff up at the end. How's that?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, real quick. Have ordered a Pixel XL. Hope to have it in this month. Not sure about Project Fi. Why am I looking forward to this info?
Sounds good. Yeah. Let me know if you have any questions, Jim, and I'll definitely be happy to answer them for you.
There you go. Andrew says, I love the service. I haven't had any issues that others have been reporting. So that's a good thing too.
Great. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Earlier, Andreas said, any chance that we can get Google connectivity services to allow an option to auto accept captive portal accept buttons? Do you understand all that? Because I was lost when I read it. Okay.
So I can't specifically address from a Google standpoint of whether they're working on that or not. One thing I will note from a legal standpoint is technically Google would be accepting a terms of service on your behalf, which I would think from a legal standpoint that would be sticky water to go into. I don't know if they're working on it or not, but I think there would have to be some provisions on that standpoint. There are third-party apps that allow you to do that on the Google Play Store. So I would suggest looking into those. There are apps that do that for you, but that's the concern there is from the legal standpoint. I would think from a legal standpoint.
All right. Then she asked another one. Also, can we get a toggle to enable Wi-Fi calling preferred versus cellular? And again, I think feedback, right?
I completely understand that. Again, I can't comment on specifics for future, but I can tell you that's definitely something that has been mentioned a lot, and the team's very aware of that request. Specifically, they've heard it loud and clear. I can't comment on it any further on that. But
that's why I'm bringing this one up. So, any chance of future plans or lower prices?
Future plans, no. Lower prices. I don't. Obviously, I'm not part of the team officially, so I don't know 100% about that. I would imagine that if you're running off of 4 carriers and you have to have, a number on each, plus, having running all those connections, I would imagine that's a lot of upfront costs, and hence why it's probably $20 a line, and 15 is probably, cutting it close, I would imagine. So I don't know about that. That would be an interesting thing to see as more people come on, if there's any bargaining they can do. But obviously, like I said, I don't have any access to that kind of information.
All right. Andrew says, yes, being able to type out text messages on a full keyboard is an awesome feature. Thank you for Yep, there you go. All right, let's go to this one, Chris, and let me see if I can get that to pull up. I can. He said it might be a good to mention that it isn't available for G Suite users yet.
Yes, this is true. Unfortunately, G Suite, formerly called Google Apps, and Google Apps for Education, it's not currently available for that. There's a couple of products that this applies to where G Suite isn't an account type that's supported, so you would need to have to create a Gmail account or associate with some other email account and make a Google account wrapped around that. So that wouldn't right now that's not supported. It's definitely something the team's heard from users that they'd like to be able to support, and I'll continue to pass along that feedback to them.
There you go. And they can always leave feedback as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. Correct.
Okay. Any plans for Volt? And I don't know what that is, but
VoLTE, so voice over LTE. We currently don't support that on T-Mobile. As you can imagine, switching between carriers, there's a lot of things that have to be done to get that right. So initially, that's not something that was supported. Again, can't comment on future stuff, but the
Right.
team's very much aware of the kind of benefits that this would support, and they're looking into ways to improve call quality and reliability, and that would be one way to do that.
Right. If you put your phone in airplane mode and turn on Wi-Fi, that's a toggle. No, Chris Barnes says.
I think this might have to be. I think he's referring to the question about somebody trying to prefer Wi-Fi calling. So that would be one way to do that. The other way would be to use the Hangouts dialer. Those are the two ways that you can kind of get around the Wi-Fi preferred. If you're having a lot of problems with calling inside your house or something, you're more than welcome to PM me. I can take a look to make sure that there's nothing else going on. I provide my Reddit username as well as my Google Plus name on the last slide, which I'll have up at the end. So you can feel free to reach out to me about that if you're having issues with Wi-Fi calling of some sort.
Chris also says, no, not doing something that has to be undone later. Thanks.
Fair enough.
There was I'm going to pull up it was a very, very long one, so I might have to, it was interesting. It brought up all kinds of stuff that, again, I'm not, I don't know enough on this stuff where you do, or maybe you can help out here. And I'm going to see if I can pull it up. I might have to read it over here, though. Okay, this long message says, I hope Hangouts is working this time. Oh, he's talking about mine and Russ's issue with the video one. Wednesday nights are particular. Michael, you do a great job. I'm really interested in finding, I have 4 phones and 1 tablet on my plan with US Cellular, but only my phone is Google Motorola Nexus 6. I am really, really wondering how this works when you're already in a contract plan with a carrier like US Cellular. I hope you guys can go over in some kind of detail how this works for us that are on the little number 5 carrier, especially since they are the best reception in my in my rural Northwestern Illinois area. Verizon is the other choice, but their reception isn't as good, and they're not a 5 carrier anyway. Sorry for my message is so long. No worries, we got it in there.
Sure. So in order to activate on Project Fi, you need to be in a T-Mobile coverage area. So you need to reach some T-Mobile tower. It can be edge, it can be anything. As long as you're in an activation area of T-Mobile's, then you would be able to join Project Fi. And Project Fi would probably learn fairly quickly that US Cellular was the best option for your area. What I would recommend is checking out the coverage map, which is available at fi.google.com/coverage. I believe, or about/coverage. If you search Project Fi coverage map on Google, it'll definitely be the top result. And I would take a look at that and see if it's available, if you have coverage in that area, if the map shows up as that. And then what I would do from there is that I would also put in your zip code and make sure that it says that Project Fi is available in your area. And if you have any troubles with that, feel free to reach out, and I can look into it further specifically for your case. But that's generally what I would recommend for people. If you're in a US Cellular area, Project Fi is definitely a viable option for you, and it sounds like it would be perfect with all those data-only SIMs that you're talking about. The only thing I want to note is that the data-only SIMs only work on T-Mobile. They don't work on US Cellular, so your mileage may vary there in terms of your coverage with that. But like I said, feel free to reach out to me on that case, and I can discuss a little bit further with you one-on-one based upon your individual scenario.
Awesome. Richard puts in there, please explain how Wi-Fi Assistant works when switched to always on.
I believe they're referring to the VPN. I don't think when you turn it to always on that it actually does anything special. I can't say I've tested it. I can get back to you on that, but I don't know anything off the top of my head. So.
Gotcha. All right. And I'm going to bring this one up. Is there a chance iPhones will work with Project Fi officially with network switching, since iPhones have the technology and the capabilities as Nexus and Pixels have? You talked to Apple about that for a near future. There you go. You know that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously can't comment on that. The problem with Apple is the fact is that we have that Google wouldn't have any control over the operating system or anything like that. So there's a separate set of challenges there. Could they be working on it? sure, but I have no idea. So I wouldn't even want to speculate there.
All right, look, we're at the 45-minute mark. We're about done for the show. I kept it right where I wanted to this time. Seems like everything went fairly smoothly, and I'm going to screen share your information. I'm going to go ahead and do it this time so you don't have to, but I wanted to show everybody. This is Ziggy's information for getting in touch with him and in Phi and that kind of thing. Any kind of help or questions you might have or that kind of thing. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and probably end this pretty quickly just because I'm at the time where I wanted to. I don't want it to go too long. And I'm sure if you want to stick around, we can answer some questions here. We'll off the air. We can do that kind of thing. We can invite you in. Anybody that came in with Google, I can bring you in as a participant in here in with us in the Hangout, and you can come in and join. You just have to accept and come on in. So if you're interested in that, let us know now, and we'll invite you up in. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching tonight. I really appreciate you, Ziggy. I really do appreciate you coming and being a part of this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, absolutely. Seriously. It's really nice to have somebody who's so knowledgeable, and you've been with it since the beginning of that, correct? If I'm not mistaken with Phi?
For Project Phi, yep.
That's
I've been in since day one, so.
That's fantastic. And I take it you use Phi as well, right? No, I'm
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. It's my daily driver. Love it.
I'm kidding.
Love it.
That's great. Folks, I thank everybody for coming. I mean, this is awesome. And I really do appreciate you guys, everybody coming out. And anybody that's watching this later, feel free to leave comments in here. If you leave a comment in here, I will get that email. It sends me an email when you leave a comment in here, and I can send that off to Ziggy and let him know, and he can respond to you personally, because I can click on your icon or anything like that, and we can get in touch with you that way through Google Plus or Google. So thank you, folks, very much for coming. Ziggy, once again, thank you very much for doing this, and I'm sure I'll have you on for other things.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, folks. See you later. Have a good day.
See you.